Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to give you some tips that I've picked up over the past couple of years on how to travel for cheap. Now I've broken down these tips into 3 categories. The flight itself, which is very important, accommodation at your destination, so hotels, Airbnbs, hostels, whatever you choose. And then the last category is attractions. So I've written all of the tips that I've come up with on my phone, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. And let's get started with the video. So my number 1 tip for finding cheap flights is being flexible with your dates. It's really hard to find a cheap flight if you have a set date and a set time you want to leave or come back, or a round trip you already have planned. It's so much better if you look online, see what's cheapest, and then plan your whole vacation or trip around those dates. If you can be flexible with the days you're traveling, you're going to be able to find flights for cheaper. Tip number 2 is when you are booking your flights or when you decide to go somewhere, do some research and look at if the days you're planning to travel to that place to are popular seasons. Obviously, popular seasons are summertime, wintertime, around Christmas. Those are going to be more expensive. If you look at flights for off seasons, maybe like mid-February when no one really has any reason to travel, or sometime during March, it's going to be way cheaper to fly out during those days. Tip number 3 is to stay away from travel agencies. I think I only know 2 people who have actually used travel agencies, but they're so expensive, and you can do the same job the travel agent is doing yourself online and book the flight for cheaper just by doing it yourself. Tip number 4 is to use the private window. I've noticed a little bit of a change in the prices when I do this. Sometimes it's off by $2, sometimes it's off by $10. It really just depends. But I like using a private window because that way the flights can't track what I'm looking at and then bumping up the price because they track your cookies, or I don't know how the internet works. But using a private window has helped me just a tiny bit. Tip number 5 is to travel with only a carry-on. There are several reasons I do this. One of them is because I've lost checked luggage before. Well, I haven't lost it. The airline has lost it, but that's besides the fact. But another reason I really like to use only carry-ons is because I don't have to pay to get my bag checked. Most flights are going to allow you 1 personal item, so that can be a purse, book bag, a small duffel, and a carry-on. Sometimes if you're booking like really cheap basic economy, you are going to have to check your bag because they don't allow carry-ons. I know that's something we're going to have to do next week on our trip to New York, but most of the time having a carry-on is free, so take advantage of that. I'm going to be doing a video on how to pack 1 month, I know, 1 month worth of travel in a carry-on, so go ahead and look out for that. It should be going up next week. Now on to where to stay and how to save money on that. Before I book my flight and before I book my accommodation, I like to do some research on the place and see what the lifestyle cost is like. Obviously, if it's super expensive, that's not in my budget, so I just cross it off and research the next place I want to go to. There are some times where you're going to find a cheap flight, but it's really expensive to stay in the country, or it's really cheap to stay in the country, but the flight is going to be really expensive. And make sure you're doing some research, and that way you can budget for the trip and make sure you're not spending more money than you actually can. If you're willing to sacrifice and spend more on either the flight or accommodation, go ahead and go for it. And yeah, I am so weird. Okay, I only have 1 tip on accommodations, and that is use Airbnb. Airbnb is the best way to go because you get more from it. So let's say you go to Italy, you're in Venice, and you get a little apartment in Venice. If you book ahead of time, it's going to turn out to be cheaper than a hotel. It might not have the same accommodations as a hotel, so it might not have a pool or gym, but you get to live like a local, like you're living in someone's home who is most likely going to be a local. So not only are you getting that experience, but then you can also talk to your host and see if they have any recommendations on where to eat, where to go, attractions to look at, and you just get more from it. Also, if you're traveling with a bigger group and you get a big enough Airbnb, sometimes it comes out to like $27 per person. I know my friends and I recently just booked an Airbnb in Italy, and we only had to pay like $40 per person, and it's this super cute apartment like in the middle of the city, and it's definitely cheaper than booking a hotel. So I really advise having an itinerary before your trip. I know a lot of people like to be spontaneous and kind of just do whatever when they get there, but I've noticed that when my family and I do that, the trip ends up being way more expensive because we didn't think about certain things we were gonna have to pay for, and we just end up spending more money. I literally wrote down this. Having an itinerary will leave less room for unplanned surprises that could end up costing you more money than what you had planned on spending. So yeah. Everyone can travel for cheap if they really do their research and put the effort in. And to me, traveling is such a huge investment because there are things you're gonna learn while you're traveling that you're not gonna get from textbooks, or you're not gonna learn anywhere else. So if you do get the opportunity, I highly recommend traveling with your friends, your family, or even by yourself if you're brave enough. I know I'm not. Those are the tips I had for you. If you guys liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe and turn on the little bell to get notifications when I post a new video. I will see you guys next week. Bye.